Okay, and we are live. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Hope everyone has had a very good Tuesday. Let's get into it. So, big story tonight is Erik Ten Hag is set to lose some of the control that he has had at Manchester United. Some of that control, some of that power that he has been able to exert over the club will be taken away by Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Now, make no mistake about it, because it's an interesting one. Sir Jim is still very much having the faith with Erik Ten Hag at the moment. But the problem is for Erik Ten Hag is that some of the control he's really had over picking the transfer policy, over picking his own players, he's set to lose a lot of that control at Manchester United. Now, this might seem on paper like a bad thing. This might seem on paper like the manager being undermined. But make no mistake about it, this is the way many of the top clubs in world football at the moment operate. And they do run off this model where basically you will have the CEO, you'll have the directors of football, and they're the ones with the real transfer policies. They're the ones really calling the shots beyond the manager, and I think it's the most sustainable way forward. And I think that's how you get real continuity at the club, and how you're not finding yourself jumping from one idea to another altogether. And we've seen this at Man City, we've seen it at Liverpool, at Bayern Munich, Real Madrid. Whenever we will eventually have Erik Ten Hag leaving the club, be it in the near future with the results currently, or be that at the end of his contract, or when he inevitably decides to move on himself, it means we can have a course of continuity. So whoever will come in after Erik Ten Hag will be in the Ten Hag mold. It will be a similar style of play. It will be a similar approach to the game. And that means that you're not going to find yourself in a position where you have an amalgamation of a squad of 4 or 5 different managers' ideas of players, and you're going to have a genuine sense of continuity. Whoever comes in to replace Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool will follow in the Klopp model and in the Klopp way of playing. Whoever follows Pep Guardiola will play in a similar way. He will be able to use the players he has, and that hopefully is going to avoid managers coming out and saying they cannot get their ideas across. They cannot play the style of football that they have done throughout the majority of their career with the current set of players, like we've seen from Erik Ten Hag only on Sunday. And that a damning statement, absolutely, but that is also something we can avoid and something we can improve upon. And I absolutely think this is necessary at Manchester United. Look, things are not going right on the pitch. Things are definitely not going right off the pitch. But what we can say for absolute sure is that with a better plan, the manager will be less affected by what's going on around him. The manager will be less affected by what is going on at the board level with the owner stuff. Obviously, that is filtering onto the pitch. Make no mistake about it. This football club is in absolute chaos and disarray. And until that is improved, until Manchester United find themselves with a long-term succession and a long-term plan at our football club, we're always going to struggle, and we're always going to find ourselves facing an existential crisis every time a manager has a bad run of results, every time we see a group of players not performing well. Hopefully this is going to mean that we're going to see less players brought in from the Eredivisie. Hopefully that means we're not going to see managers buying the likes of Anthony and the glut of former Erik Ten Hag players. And I think this is definitely a long-term way to run our football club. We will see head coaches, not managers. And I think this is right, because I think United's an outdated model. I think what we've tried to do throughout the last 10 years is give the manager enough control to really try to replicate what Sir Alex Ferguson had, when I think we had to move away from that. I think that is a job that cannot be done by one man. And I think Erik Ten Hag would find himself in a much better position, both in terms of the actual players being signed, what he's doing as well, and can concentrate fully on his own role at the club if he wasn't trying to have to negotiate with all these players, if he wasn't having to worry about contracts, worry about who we're signing, giving short lists of players, demanding Frankie de Jong all summer long and not getting him. Hopefully that means we can avoid similar situations to what we have seen in the Ten Hag era, in the Ten Hag reign. And I think that is going to really help Manchester United Football Club moving forward. And I think I do think it's a good thing. It might seem counterintuitive. On paper, we want to see the manager giving control, and absolutely there should be control from the manager in a lot of regards. But in terms of long-term strategy, managers come and go. That is the modern way of football. Managers will come and go, and unless they are an absolute success, like Pep Guardiola or Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool, you will see managers move on constantly. The players are going to be here for a lot longer. Manchester United's transfer policy, Manchester United's beliefs, and how we've operated as a football club for the last 10 years has been nothing short of appalling. We've spent a similar amount of money to Man City, yet we looked like a League Two team playing against Man City on Sunday. It was embarrassing. And hopefully, if we are bringing the right group of players in, bringing the recruitment up to par, that's going to help us replace those players in the squad. Because look, Manchester United's problem has never ever been spending money. We always have the money to spend. We've always spent money, even if we don't have it, at Manchester United Football Club. And I don't think anyone for a minute is saying that United haven't been spending that money, because the facts do speak for themselves. We've signed 40 players in the last 10 years, probably more whenever we actually go into the real. If we look at loans and free signings and everything as well, we're probably pushing 50 signings in 10 years. Completely unstable. It's completely non-sustainable. We cannot keep on running in this web. So I think a hard reset is needed. Will Erik Ten Hag be disappointed in that? Absolutely. But Erik Ten Hag coming into this job was a man who had never worked at a club this size. Erik Ten Hag was a man who had never run a football club himself. Even at Ajax, where he was having his best times, playing the best football, really capturing the world's eye, he was not running Ajax Football Club. He worked with the directors, he worked with the structure, he worked and he performed his job in that hierarchy. And yes, the manager's job will come with a lot of power and a lot of control over the overall style of play in terms of what we're going to do on the pitch and off the pitch. Absolutely it will. It always will be. But what I'm trying to say as well is if you have a long-term plan, then I think that works a lot better. And it's going to be by finding managers who will get the best out of the players. And I think, yeah, look, we went through it last night. There must have been 20 players in our first team squad who we could say are not going to be good enough at any point for Manchester United. Some of them probably shouldn't even be in the team. A lot of them we could say, yes, squad player max. But we need to avoid falling into these patterns and these cycles that we see constantly. We have to be bringing in the right types of players. Even Pep Guardiola at Man City, for all he's achieved, for all he has done for that football club, does not have 100% control. He works with the structure. He works with those CEOs, with those directors, with the analysts, with the recruitment team. They might have ideas of their own. Pep might have ideas of his own. And he's probably dodged a bullet on some of these signings. Pep wanted to sign the likes of Fred, Harry Maguire, for instance. They didn't get those signings. They said, no, we're not going to buy the likes of Fred and Harry Maguire. We'll get Ilkay Gundogan. We'll go and get Ruben Diaz. And that, for me, is a much, much better way to run your football club, because suddenly you're not looking short term. And there's always been this allegation. There's always been this air around Manchester United where we will see that happen, where managers say we need results, and I need results from the get-go. And if I have control over these players and who comes in, who comes out, I'm going to look more short term. The likes of Casemiro, the likes of Rafael Varane, Ronaldo's, the Ibrahimoviches of this world. And I don't think that's a sustainable way to make a football club operate. Because if something goes wrong with your manager, if something goes wrong in a run of form like we find ourselves in now, it means basically that you will have a manager and you will basically have a whole team set up to play in one particular style of football. And if that manager goes wrong, you find yourselves all of a sudden looking at a rebuild. And we've had so many attempted rebuilds in the last 10 years. So absolutely that's got to improve. Got Jordy down below in the comments. We're going to be talking about Newcastle tomorrow. That's going to be an interesting match. I would be lying if I'm saying I'm looking forward to it, but Eddie Howe did also say that they're going to rotate tomorrow, so maybe United's first team can beat Newcastle's reserves tomorrow if we catch them on a good night. That's genuinely the level that we're playing at the minute, but look, it's disappointing. And if you're Erik Ten Hag, you probably feel a little bit disappointed, but I don't think that he really can expect to have full control over transfers and the players he's signing. Look at the track record of some of these players. They haven't delivered whatsoever, even if they have been Ten Hag signings. And I think that's something that we need to improve upon as well. So I absolutely think, yeah, let's move towards a more modern model. Let's not have the entire stability of our club and the long-term planning of our club based around the manager who might end up getting sacked if things go wrong. If you at least have a team and a group of players that can improve with time and get better with time and be ready for the next manager coming in, if that's what's going to happen, then that's a much longer term style of approach, and I think that's the right way to go. We're coming for the revenge bit. I mean, yeah, look, I'm not looking forward to it. Jokes aside, best for the game in the Carabao Cup. Yeah, look, I'm looking forward to it. We need a bounce back. Do I think we'll even get that bounce back? I don't know. Like, I really cannot say with any confidence that we will. I would be stunned if we turned up and beat Newcastle convincingly tomorrow. So, look, it'll be an interesting one. Absolutely, it will. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it's going to depend on what we're able to do, and probably come down to what sort of team that Eddie Howe ends up picking in tomorrow's match as well for you guys. But we are running a poll down in the comments, guys. Get your predictions in for tomorrow. Well, we've got 14 votes so far, 57% going for the loss. I mean, I'm not surprised. I really can't say with any confidence that we're going to turn up and do anything against Newcastle tomorrow. I really cannot say that with any real conviction whatsoever. I hope it does happen. I mean, I hope that we turn up and beat them, but the way things are going, the way things have been going for this last 6 months or so, it's very difficult for me to sit here in this chair and honestly say, yeah, we're going to beat Newcastle, because we struggled to beat Sheffield, we've struggled to beat Brentford and Copenhagen this season. We were played off the pitch by Wolves in the first match of the season. So I really can't say with any confidence that we're going to turn up and put a shift in tomorrow, because I just don't think these players have it within them. I just don't think that they care as well. And look, that's a massive problem, and that's going to be something that Jim Ratcliffe, whoever comes in, is going to have to try resolve as well. I think we do need to really clear the decks. We do really need to get some of these players out of the door. Some interesting stuff coming in from United Stand as well. And they'd said the place is crazy at the moment. There's uncertainty everywhere. Boardroom, coaching staff, players. None of them know if they'll even be here next season. Again, this comes back to the long-term planning, the long-term vision, the long-term strategy, which just doesn't exist at this football club. The sooner Sir Jim comes in and even has 1% of the structure, it will be a godsend to us. And that's what I mean. I mean, there's players right now who do not know if they're going to be here next season. There's players who are probably thinking about leaving the club. We don't know if the manager is going to be here next season. We don't know what the plan is there. It's a difficult time for this football club. Make no mistake about it. Fabrizio Romano as well has said today the Manchester United board are still backing and supporting Erik Ten Hag this season. So, I mean, I'm hopeful that things can turn around, but I mean, the way things are going, there's no glimmer of hope really being seen. Romano is also saying that the players feel like the uncertainty at the board level and with the takeover and stuff, that's really impacting performances on the pitch. It shouldn't, because we should be more stable than this. It shouldn't be a case that if it's Jim Ratcliffe or Sheikh Yassim, or if it's the Glazer family, that should not be transferring onto the pitch as much as it is. If it's an issue that is one of the main motivations, and that is something we cannot really work ourselves around, then yeah, look, I completely get that as well. It's hard to work in a toxic work environment. It is difficult. I've been there and done that, so we know it does filter into your performance. But I mean, it does always feel like excuse FC with these group of Manchester United players, and it has done for a very long time, and probably will continue to be. Anything and everything that can be blamed on the bad performances typically is done, and it always seems to be the manager on the receiving end of these allegations, of these bad press stories and the bad news and the bad media and the bad environment surrounding the club. But it's never coming down to the players either. And these players have thrown so many managers under the bus. We're looking at Van Gaal, we're looking at Moyes and Ollie and Jose Mourinho and Ralph Rangnick and now Erik Ten Hag as well. They're not playing for these managers. And I think a genuine gutting of this squad is needed. And even if some of our favourite players in the last couple of years are on that list, I think it needs to be done. I think genuinely we need to clear the decks. And not just the players who we think are not good enough, but if the players who time after time are proving themselves to be fair weather players, who turn up whenever things are going well, who start scoring goals and running harder whenever their teammates are bailing them out of trouble. Because all that does is create an air, and all it does is create an environment of Manchester United players relying on one each other, but not stepping up themselves. They're passing off the responsibility to the running. They're passing off the responsibility to do the work. And we've seen this time and time and time again with Manchester United players. And it's difficult. It's so difficult when we find ourselves in this situation. Because right now, in order to save this season, in order to have any kind of positive end the year with a trophy or a top 4 finish, we genuinely need to work together, work hard, be better on the pitch, be better match after match. And can we back these players to do that? Absolutely no, we cannot. We just can't, because there's no evidence of it. These players have been here, some of them, Marcus Rashford for instance, has been in the team since the Louis van Gaal era. Same goes for the likes of Victor Lindelof at the club as well. Things go as well if we're looking at the likes of Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire. These guys have been at the club for a very, 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 very long time. And when things go wrong, they're some of the first heads to drop. At this point in their career, they should be some of the more experienced heads in that dressing room, pulling everything together. And maybe it's because at the time we were still an unstable mess. We were still an absolute joke of a club in terms of what we were doing on and off the pitch at the time, that they never learnt that. They never learned to take the responsibility to be able to drag Manchester United and the team forward in the hour of need. Maybe that's genuinely the case, that there was no character in these players, that there's no real fight. When things are going well, yeah, things are going well. Look, we've seen this time and time again. How many good seasons have we had since Sir Alex Ferguson retired? Dare I say, 3 at best. We've had the first season under Mourinho, where we won the Community Shield, we won Carabao Cup, we won the Europa League. We had that season under Ollie, where we finished second in the league. We were quite convincing at times. It looked like we were building towards something. And then, of course, we had last season under Erik Ten Hag, where we won a trophy and finished in the top 4 for the first time since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. What I'm trying to say, guys, is we have such a track record, we have such a history at this football club of taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back, and that has always been the case with this group of players. So yeah, look, Erik Ten Hag has a lot of things on his plate. Yes, Erik Ten Hag needs to work on his own game as well. Do I think Jim Ratcliffe coming in and reducing that role of the manager at this club is going to fix everything? No, but I do think it gives us a step towards a more sustainable future, a step towards a more progressive and stable future, where we will have long-term planning, where we will say, yeah, look, we're not going to rely on these experienced players past their prime to compete for the next 2 to 3 seasons. We shouldn't be looking at players, buying them and saying, yeah, do you know what, they'll be good for 2 years and then we need to get rid of them. You bring those types of players in when you're ready to go on and win a title. Manchester United are so far off that. And that, for me, has been a massive, massive issue at this football club. It's like we genuinely have not had that in many years. We really haven't. The likes of Casemiro, the likes of Christian Eriksen, Ronaldo's, Ibrahimovic's, Cavani's, players of this nature, you sign those players when you need that experience, when you need that little bit of quality to propel yourself forward to win a trophy, to win a big honour. You do not need that, and that is not what you need when you're trying to rebuild a team, because you're just finding yourselves in 1 or 2 years' time having to go out and replace those players who you've brought in the first place. And if that's what a genuine structure is going to bring to this club, then that has to be really, really high up on the priority list. It really does. Recruitment has been shocking. I think we can count on one hand the number of genuine top quality buys we've had in the last 10 years. We really have. Rajat's down in the comments. It's good to see, man. Hope all's good. Yeah, just getting a quick drink there as well. So yeah, Joe, we'll move on real quick as well. Want to get talking about Sir Jim backing Ten Hag as well. I mean, I think he'll probably take a look at it. I think if Ratcliffe comes in, because look, it's meant to be happening pretty soon, according to reports coming in from the I paper, is saying at the earliest Sir Jim's minority investments will be completed or unannounced next week. That is the earliest, of course, not expected, but I mean, we are on the cusp of change at this club. It might not be the degree of change we wanted, but if this is going to get us any kind of stability, any kind of structure, better ideas on how to run our club, on how the club should operate, and how we do operate on a week-to-week basis, a year-to-year basis, then yeah, that's a good thing for Manchester United. Is it the kind of ownership we want? Probably not, but it's all we're going to get, so we have to hope it works. We really do. Liban is saying, I think nothing is going right for us because the time is bad, like Liverpool for so many years, City and Arsenal as well. I mean, yeah, look, we're finding ourselves in a bad position. I think this does show you where the problems are at Manchester United. Second season, for most other clubs, for any manager walking into a top club, you look at what Pep did at City or Klopp did at Liverpool. After one season, yeah, look, you get your head in the door, you get a feel for the place. We had a good season last year. We should be a lot better than what we are right now after more time. And we're not. We're getting worse as time is going on. And this has happened time and time and time again. And this is one of the only clubs where it genuinely happens every single time. And it's constant. It's a vicious cycle of one step forward and two steps back. Erik Ten Hag is being backed by Jim Ratcliffe at the moment, but if things don't improve, he probably will find himself on the way out. Look, Ratcliffe and INEOS, when they do come in eventually, they're going to take a big look at it. They're going to evaluate everyone, say who should be here, who shouldn't be here. And Erik Ten Hag needs to make the case that he is the right man to lead this football club forward, that he is the right guy to bring us into the future. He needs to do that. But I don't think Erik Ten Hag can do it by himself. And I don't think he's capable of doing it either by himself. I think the structure is really important. At Ajax, he had a genuine world-class recruitment team. He had a brilliant youth academy. There was players there who will step into that team and eventually take over all those players who were sold. Ajax do it all the time. And yeah, look, they're having a bad season this year, but they'll probably bounce back later on in the season. They'll probably bounce back moving forward. And they will be back competing for the Eredivisie title. We do not have any sort of long-term planning. When we are looking at the likes of Casemiro, the likes of Varane, the likes of Ronaldo, Cavani, Ibrahimovic, even going back Robin van Persie, Falcao's, players of this nature, it's not a long-term sustainable plan. As I said, if you're bringing a Ronaldo into this team right now, it probably doesn't make a big difference. If you're bringing a Casemiro into this team right now, it doesn't make a big difference. The disappointing thing for me is it looked like we were building something genuine under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and we brought in Ronaldo to be the cherry on top of the cake, to be the one that hopefully could propel us towards that league title. That didn't happen, but that's the kind of time you want to see players like Varane's and like Ronaldo's and Casemiro's brought into your team. You don't want to bring them in when you're trying to rebuild. That's my big argument, and that's what I think a genuine sporting structure with Paul Mitchell and the likes running it would make sure. Because the problem is with Casemiro, we got one good season out of him. This year has been really, really poor by his standards. Can he bounce back? I think he's definitely playing beneath himself, but I think he maybe can bounce back, but we're not getting what we got from him last year this season, in my opinion. If we were in a position last year to genuinely compete for a title and we just needed some real quality in that midfield, some real solidity in there, a real experienced leader and winner, then yeah, absolutely Casemiro was your guy. But we probably should have went and had a look at what Real Madrid were doing. They sold him for a reason. They used that money to buy Tchouaméni, the replacement, the long-term option. And that's what I think we should be doing all along. And I think a lot of it comes from the fact that managers come in and know they have to perform and they have to succeed from the minute go. And that's why they look at these older players who are going to come in and hopefully have that kind of impact and try to get the best out of them. I think genuinely, if we were in a position with a sporting club and genuine directors who are saying, yeah, Joe, we're going to take a long-term view at it, we're going to sign some really good young players, and if they don't work for Erik Ten Hag, then by the time Ten Hag is gone, these players will be older, more developed, and they'll be more ready to go for it. And we'll make smarter signings. We'll bring in the players we really need to sign. Some of the transfers we have got right. Absolutely, I think Højlund would be signed under any good sporting director or any good planning would be looking at Rasmus Højlund and saying, yeah, that's the kind of player we need to be bringing in. I don't think they would look at the likes of Eriksen and the likes of Casemiro, Varane, and players of that nature and said, Joe, what? That's what we need right now for a short-term fix. We cannot have short-term fixes anymore. It has to be a hard reset. It does, and it might take us longer to get back to the top going this way. But this is the most sustainable way to do things and to have a long-term plan and a long-term vision. And yeah, you can rotate players in and out. You can sell some on, and hopefully you will at least get your money back on them. And that's something that the likes of City have done so well. You know, they've moved the likes of Riyad Mahrez on. They've moved Raheem Sterling on. They've brought in Foden. They've brought in Grealish. They've brought in Jeremy Doku. Players like that and a system like that, we are constantly rotating players in and out before they're at their worst, before they really drop off. That is kind of how you have to be running a football club now. Because of the level of competition, you cannot say, okay, we're in the summer, we need to buy 3 players because we need a striker, we need a goalkeeper, we need a midfielder, and then say, do you want the back line? Even though it's not going to last this season, we're going to just hope for the best and maybe we'll buy someone next year. Proper planning, it prevents all that. We're reactive in the market. The players we sign, we react to the problems. We are not proactive. We do not look to solve the problems before they even arise. And that, for me, is what a genuine sporting director and a genuine sporting structure will do. It won't just be, we've lost against Brighton and Brentford, let's go get Casemiro. It will be, why didn't we sign somebody else instead of Frankie de Jong in that mould, in that age profile? That's what we have to be doing, in my opinion. And that's how I think we move forward. And it might take longer, but I think it's going to be a better long-term strategy. And it's what we have to do. Short-term fixes don't work. We have seen this for 10 years at this club. We have to look long-term. We have to look beyond finishing top 4 every season, even if that's going to take 2 seasons to get back there, even if we don't finish top 4 for a season, but we find ourselves with a team that's improving, getting better, and then we add again to that, and it gets even better year after year after year. It's better than jumping forward 3 steps and then in 1 season time taking 5 steps backwards, because everybody just cannot keep on playing at that level. That, for me, is something we absolutely have to improve upon. And yeah, look, Erik Ten Hag's going to have to take responsibility for that. Any manager would. But I think long-term planning just doesn't exist at this club, and it needs to start happening as soon as possible. As soon as possible. And even if it gets worse before it gets better, if it fixes us in the long term, I think we'll take it, because we've had 10 years of jumping from one way to another, one player to another, one style of football, one manager. I think we just want the consistency. I think we want to see continued improvements, and I think this is how we get it, and that's how Manchester United need to operate going forward. Let me get into some of your guys' comments as well before we move on to tomorrow night's match, of course, against Newcastle. Hot Fuzz is down there. Good to see you, man. Jeremy, good afternoon to you as well. On the whole, we played better in tournaments this season. Trying to find a silver lining, absolutely. Bourne is down there. Hello, good to see you, man. Neville once said this club is a graveyard, which is true. I think Ten Hag has realised that, and that is why he looks like the previous managers. It's hard to argue against that, and some have even said he looks like Ollie did towards the end. Rajat is down there. We got no IQ. Absolutely not. There's no planning, no long-term ideas. I'm going to keep on hitting that as well. I'm going to beat that buzzword to death. Long-term planning is going to be the motto, and something that I'm desperate to see at our football club. Stephanie's down in the comments as well. Chatsport says Sancho back for Newcastle tomorrow. No chance. I don't think we're ever going to see Jadon Sancho playing for Manchester United again. It's unfortunate how it worked out. Sancho would be one of those players I'd say, yeah, that's a long-term signing. Someone who adds quality when he comes in and is only meant to get better as time goes on. But it hasn't worked out that way, unfortunately, as well. Stephanie says we're up to 18 likes as well, guys. Yeah, we're pretty close, which is really good, actually. I think tonight seems to be a quieter stream as well. Probably Halloween stuff. So if you guys want to hit a like on that, let's see if we can get up to 20 as well. Got some trick-or-treaters downstairs. So I hope you guys don't hear the dog barking too much as well. Yeah, Joke, we'll move on to this match tomorrow. It's going to be an interesting one. Some interesting quotes from Eddie Howe in his press conference today. So he basically was saying they're expecting to rotate. They've got a lot of big matches coming up. They've Borussia Dortmund next week. They've got a big match at the weekend. I think they're playing Arsenal as well. So I'm pretty sure he will look at this and try to rotate ahead of those matches. So maybe that's going to give us our best opportunity to win again tomorrow and pick up some form. I don't know. But I can't really say that even if Newcastle put out their B team, that United team's going to beat them. Like, I really can't say that either, because I've no confidence in it. I really don't. But look, it'll be an interesting one. We will watch it tomorrow on the channel. Will be a watch along for that. Make sure to tune in. Hot Fuzz is down below. He's been recovering from the cold and the cough. Stephanie says Ten Hag gets the dreaded vote of confidence. Derek said Erik should be sacked as well. I mean, look, the arguments to sack are growing week by week. They really are. Interestingly enough, and I think it's disappointing, is Kobbie Mainoo playing and starting for the under-21s today as well. But I guess it's just getting minutes back in the legs. I wouldn't mind some changes tomorrow. I think we need to see changes. Absolutely. Derek says, I don't think Ten Hag has a winning mentality. I think he has a win. He wants to win, and I do think he has that mentality. I just don't know if it's really transferring onto the pitch this year towards last year. I don't know what's happened, because he looks a shell of his former self. Last season, we were constantly asking for rotation because Erik Ten Hag was playing the same team nearly every single match because he wanted to win. And we went deep in all the competitions. We got to Europa League quarterfinals. We won the League Cup. We got to the FA Cup final. We finished top 4. He basically ran that team into the ground. And I think a genuine lack of quality in the squad depth was an issue last year. I think there's more options now. I think he's got to use them, and I think he needs to use them tomorrow as well. So I'm going to go through the team I want to see tomorrow. Let me know your thoughts as well, guys. So I'm going to say Andre Onana in goal. I think he's probably the only player who had any sort of a showing against Man City. I don't think he could have done too much with the goals, made some important saves as well. So I'll keep Onana in there as well. At right back is an interesting one. It might have to be Delo again, even though I'm really wearing on my patience with Diogo Delo. I don't think Wan-Bissaka's back. I mean, centre backs, it'll probably be Evans and Maguire. Left back, I really hope it's not Lindelof, because I've just seen enough of this Lindelof experiment at left back. I get what he's trying to do. I think what he's really trying to do is have some sort of control in the back line when playing out of play, because Reguilon's maybe not top quality on the ball, but I mean, Victor Lindelof melts under pressure. They call him the Iceman, but he literally does melt. I think that is a massive problem. Midfield, it'll probably be Sofian Amrabat. I don't know why we keep taking him off at half-time. I really don't get that. I'd like to see Mount and Mejbri in there as well. I think, yeah, Christian Eriksen, I would draw up. I don't think I want to see Scott McTominay in a Manchester United shirt again. I would take him off the pitch, absolutely. And Mason Mount needs to play. Absolutely he does. I think on the right, I don't want to see Anthony in there. I mean, all he did at the weekend was come in and kick Jeremy Doku. Like, genuinely, I'm lost for words with Anthony, so I would hope he's gone and Pellistri comes in. I think it'll probably be Martial through the middle and maybe Garnacho on the left. And I think that's probably as good as we can expect. I would like to see Højlund play, but it does seem that Ten Hag is trying to manage his minutes, probably bearing the injury he had over the summer, not looking to re-aggravate that. Let me see, Jeremy is down there. I feel like Rashford embodies United at the moment. Pricey, flashy, big name, brilliant in moments, but inconsistent, zero mentality. Absolutely. I would agree with that as well. I think Rashford, Marcus Rashford is seen as the poster boy of Manchester United by a lot, and within the club, absolutely he is. My problem is with Marcus Rashford is it's the lack of work rate, it's the lack of desire, it's the lack of end product. Look, some players will absolutely, you will get players who will do very little out of possession, but we're not a team who can afford to do that. And Marcus Rashford really doesn't add anything in possession either. I mean, if you watch PSG play, I'm positive that Kylian Mbappe is not running around pressing. If you watch Erling Haaland, not overly involved in Man City's build-up, but he delivers goals. Marcus Rashford doesn't deliver anything, and you cannot really be a player in that way be a luxury type player and not perform on the pitch. A massive, massive problem. Liman is down there. I asked you to name your best subscriber. Will I do that? And can Ten Hag publicly say, sorry, how can Ten Hag in public say Rashford will play every game? How should other players feel? I mean, he should absolutely drop him. Send a message. I don't really have a best subscriber either, because I think, like, I really do value everybody as well. Obviously, as you know, this is a small channel. Like it is. We got a lot of new people in over this summer. It was really good. But yeah, I mean, look, the last couple of months have been pretty slow. But that's just how it goes. It comes and goes, and we're pretty much just happy as well just to be taking part in it. Like, this is just fun as well for me, and I hope it's fun for you guys. But genuinely, I couldn't say who the best subscriber is. Absolutely. Let me as well want to go through some of the other stories for today. So there's an interesting one with Victor Lindelof and Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka and Lindelof and Martial are approaching the last year of their deal. So far, we haven't activated the 1 year extension on any of those deals. I would say probably none of them really deserve it. I think deals need to be earned. And I think that could at least put some sort of motive into these players. But Chris Wheeler was saying contract talks between Manchester United and Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Victor Lindelof have gone quiet. It now appears more likely that United will trigger a 12-month extension to keep Wan-Bissaka under new contract until 2025 and look at his situation again in the new year. No real indication on Victor Lindelof. I mean, I've been saying for a while, I just don't think Lindelof is good enough for this team. I really just don't see it with the guy. And like, that's, I mean, yeah, he offers a little bit, but I mean, he does make a lot of mistakes and he gets bullied very easily. His possession work isn't as good as a lot of people seem to think it is. I think genuinely, if Harry Maguire made the mistakes Lindelof was making, there'll be a lot more media attention drawn towards Harry Maguire than there already is. An interesting story, and I kind of hope it's true as well, is when the Man United players got back to the dressing room on Sunday, Ten Hag ordered them to sit in silence and listen to the city celebration on the other side of the tunnel. He also wanted them to hear the away fans killing their players after outclassing Manchester United. Ten Hag then tore into his troops for their performance in the match for 30 minutes. I mean, do I even think it's going to work? I mean, I don't think genuinely anything will work with these players. It's always been what is going to motivate these guys, because we just take a step forward and 2 steps back, and that has been the cycle we've been in for 10 years, probably longer as well, because even that United team that won that last Premier League, as fondly as we look back on those times, that wasn't a great team, and truth be told, it hadn't been a great team really for a couple of years before that. I would say the last time we were a genuine top quality team was maybe around 2010, and that's even longer. I think, yeah, look, we brought in goals with Van Persie. We won the league that season, but ultimately that team, it was papering over a lot of cracks. It really was, and that was part of the magic of Sir Alex Ferguson. But genuinely, I think this club has been going 1 step forward, 2 steps back for a long time. Stephanie, yes, there will be a watch along tomorrow as well. Liman says he's got split personalities on different streams. Fair enough. But yeah, look, Eddie Howe with some interesting comments as well. Interestingly, haven't seen a Ten Hag press conference today, which is unusual. But Eddie Howe says, is it the right time to play United? Would be better if I told you after the match. They're a great team with great players and they might rotate the squad, but I think one of the main tests is how any team reacts to failures. And he also said as well, their intentions to win, but they're going to come and rotate. They're playing Dortmund, they're playing Arsenal. They've got big matches coming up, so maybe we can catch them off guard. I think genuinely we need a win tomorrow night. It's absolutely vital, because we go away to Craven Cottage on Saturday. That's going to be a difficult match to the way we've been playing, and Fulham will probably fancy themselves. Rashad is asking, when will Jim come? The talk is with Sir Jim Ratcliffe is that at the earliest it will be confirmed and announced next week, but that of course comes with the caveat of being the absolute earliest any announcement will be made. I'm hoping that is as soon as possible. It is, because look, I really want to see the Glazer family gone. I want to see that more than anything. You guys know that. Everybody does. Not one United fan in the world is sitting celebrating that the Glazers are still here. But I think this Ratcliffe experiment has to work, and I think if it comes in and he has genuine control and makes some alterations now, some long-term plays, I think that's just going to help us at least have a clue what we're doing. Because I feel like if we want to picture what United look like behind the scenes, I feel like it's just a bunch of headless chickens running around the boardroom, and that's pretty much it. On the pitch, it may as well just be roast chickens, because they don't run, they don't do anything, they just stand back and let it happen. It's a damning statement, but I mean, it's genuinely where we find ourselves, and I'm hoping that Ratcliffe could be the guy to fix it. I feel like it's going to be the biggest change we've had in a long time, and look, even at that, it's not what we wanted, but it has to work for the future of our football club, because genuinely, if it doesn't work, there is such a long way back, and this could be one of the longer dry spells in Manchester United history. But look, make no mistake about it, this club will be back. I feel like we will come back, and I feel like we can come back, and I feel like there are better days ahead of us. But every single week, those days seem to be going further and further and further back. I think there's a way out of this. I think there's a way we can get better. I think there's a way we can genuinely operate. I was saying pretty much a 30-minute rant as well at the start of the stream, but long-term planning for the future, I think that is absolutely essential, because when you bring in Casemiro's and Varane's, Ronaldo's, Ibrahimovic's, Cavani's, Falcao's, Van Persie's, players of that ilk, these are players you bring in to take a team from runners-up to champions, and that's what Ferguson did with Robin Van Persie. These are not the players that you hinge your long-term plans around, that you use in your rebuilds, because it's just not sustainable. It's really not. And that's just got to be something that we work on. That's got to be something we do better, is actually plan and have a long-term succession. Properly run clubs will genuinely have a really good idea of what they're going to do next. I guarantee right now, it won't be public knowledge, but I guarantee right now that Liverpool have the replacement for Mohamed Salah lined up, who they want to bring in to replace him. And they'll have a plan B, and they'll have a plan C. I guarantee that Man City have 5 players who can come in and take over the role of Kevin De Bruyne in that team. I guarantee if Erling Haaland leaves in a year's time, in 2 years' time for Man City, goes to Madrid, they have that next guy lined up, and they know who they're going to get, and they know what they're going to do. I guarantee Manchester United couldn't tell you what's going to be served for players' breakfast tomorrow. I think that's probably the issue here as well, is there's just no planning, and it's not even just the big teams doing this. Every team's doing this. There's a really, I've talked about it a few times, really good interview done with one of the heads of recruitment at Brighton. They basically have players brought in who are already going to replace those players they've lost. They have already got the McAllister and the Moses Caicedo replacements in the squad. They might add players in the summer. They probably know who's going to replace Matoma, or they might already have a Matoma replacement in the wings. That's genuinely what a properly run football club does. They have a plan. They know what they're doing. Manchester United genuinely seem to go and react to everything. They react to Martial is not scoring goals and can't stay fit. Oh, better go spend 70 million on a striker. They say we need a defensive midfielder. We can't stop conceding goals. Oh, let's get Casemiro. Proper team would already have them in place. Proper team doesn't have to go on a supermarket sweep in the last weeks of the transfer window, which we've done so many times in the last 10 years. No planning, no coordination, no ideas at this club, and no long-term future as things stand. That can improve. It absolutely can improve, but it's got to come quick. Because if you're planning long-term, then your payoff for those long-term decisions won't come for 2 or 3 years. It's unfortunate, but that's probably what we have to do at this point. If we have to have Ratcliffe come in before Christmas and they have an idea of players they're going to buy in the summer already, then that puts you ahead. Then the year after that, you have to plan who's going to replace these. That's what you got to be doing as well. Really, really important stuff. Rashad doesn't know when we're going to be back. I mean, I don't know either. It might be It might be 2 years, it might be 3 years, it might be 5 years, it might be within 12 months. We genuinely cannot tell. But until we have a clear plan, I don't think we're going anywhere, because I feel like right now, in the moment, we are lost in the woods. And instead of really looking for the way out, we're just going, let's go east today, and then we go, let's go south, and then we go west, and then we go north, and we go all over the ship. We're basically running around in the dark, trying to find the way out, when the smart idea would be, first of all, look for the light switch and see what you're doing, and then things become a lot more easier, because then you're not just stumbling around with your arms out, tripping up every now and again, not knowing where you're going if you're going in circles. That's genuinely what we have been doing. We've been running around in the dark for far too long. It's time to turn a light on. It's time to see what's happening. And look, it might not be a complete light. It might not be illuminating the full picture, but even if it's just a candlelight, you can at least see what's one step ahead of you. And right now, we genuinely can't do that. That's a big concern. It really is. Jeremy says Fulham will be brutal. They have an axe to grind with us after the Garnacho goal and the Mitrovic red card. I mean, yeah, look, it'll be a difficult match. Make no mistake about it. Stephanie says, can we win the next 3 matches? If we win only 2 of them, which 2 is best? Fulham and Copenhagen. I'm not too sure who we're playing next 3. I think, well, obviously Newcastle tomorrow, but after that, it's Fulham, Copenhagen, then is it Everton and Luton? Because if so, that has to be 5 wins. That desperately needs to be 5 wins. No excuses to be made. And that probably helps put your season on some kind of a plan. Who else we got down below as well? Luman says won't be back before 2030. Yeah, look, I know. I mean, you could make that argument. I think depressingly 2030 gets closer every day. I keep thinking in my head it's like 10 or 15 years away, but now it's almost 6 years away. But that's just life. That's life. Rashad says good directors of football can find quality players cheaper money. Absolutely, absolutely, Rashad. It's like, you give someone who knows what they're going to do the kind of money we've been wasting, we probably would have a lot better team right now, because we couldn't spend the money any worse. We really couldn't, even if we tried. Kids looking for candy. The compass is broken, says Stephanie as well. But that's genuinely what it feels like. It feels like we are lost in the woods. We are in a dark room. We don't know where we're going. And instead of looking for a long-term plan that's going to make things easier for us, we're just charging with our heads down in any random direction and hoping that that might take us to where we need to go. And I mean, for me, that's just inexcusable, and that's just been the way we've been run and the way we've worked as a team for far, far too long. It's jumping from one idea to the next idea without looking what's in between, without looking what's around the corner. It is baffling, like. And it just shows a lack of ideas, a lack of actual knowledge on what to do. So I think, yeah, we've got to take it step by step by step by step. And if it's going to take 3 years for Manchester United to have a team that can dominate and genuinely, the time that can genuinely press and genuinely compete for the big trophies, then I think that's better than having a season where we do well, maybe win an FA Cup or a Europa League, and then dropping off for the next 2 seasons, and then maybe finishing top 4 and winning the Carabao Cup, and then dropping off for 2 seasons as well. I would rather have a clear plan and clear progress with steps towards sustained success than just jumping from one side to another, flipping all over the show. Stephanie says time goes faster when you go past 25. Now, does that include when you are 25? Because I'm 25 now. So does that mean that once it hits 26, time speeds up, or is it going to happen now? Because I feel like my birthday was last week, but it's verging on 2 months ago. So yeah, that's kind of how we're feeling at the minute as well. Anyone else looking forward to the international break? I feel like most people probably are at this point. So if Tam could speed us up to the internationals, because honestly, if your entire life was an international break, you would feel like you've lived 1,000 years. It is funny. Like, let me have a check at some of the upcoming fixtures as well, guys. Just to see when these take over the internationals are, what's going to happen, because I think it is Newcastle, Fulham, Copenhagen, Everton, Luton, but I don't know if those matches are broke up by another international break. It could well be the case. I'll have to have a look here as well. Of course, internet nice and slow. So yeah, let me see. So yeah, Newcastle tomorrow, Copenhagen, and Fulham. So then we play Luton on the 11th. That's not going to be an international break. Then it is the international break. It's Everton and Galatasaray after that too. Those will be big matches. Goodison Park and away to Galatasaray will be difficult. The way we've been playing this season, we should go out and win those matches, but will we? I really cannot say with any conviction whatsoever that we will. I think I'm lagging a wee bit as well. Stephanie says she is quicker being a United fan. Yeah, absolutely. It's what I said for a while. Is it's a good thing Ten Hag's bald, because if he wasn't, he probably would be by now. I think I'm lagging as well here, guys. I think we might just be ending the stream here because I'm pretty much wrapped up anyway. So tell you what, guys, I am going to leave the stream here. Thanks so much for joining in tonight, and I'll catch everyone for the watch along tomorrow. Probably be on around 7:30, quarter kind of time to build up to the match. Obviously do the full match as well tomorrow, and then we'll do a reaction shoot after that as well. So thanks so much for joining in tonight, guys. Hopefully tomorrow can be a less eventful day for Manchester United.